The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas, one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Positive Talk Radio. First of all, I have to ask, because I'm proud of it, what'd you think of the opening, Vicky?
I think that was great. Yep, very engaging.
Oh, very, very good. I'm glad you liked it. That was a self-serving fishing for a compliment. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
I appreciate it. By the way, Vicky McGrath is our guest for the entire time that we're together today, and she is a dynamic individual. She's located in our great friends up north in that area, and you can follow along by going to vickymcgrath.ca, and that's we'll access her website and we'll talk about all of that. She's a coach. She's an intuitive coach. She works with people with business. And she's been doing this for a little while now. How long have you been doing this?
Well, funny you should ask, Kevin, because actually it's really only been about 2 years that I've been on this journey. And that's because, before the pandemic, I was kind of living my life by default. And once the pandemic hit and I started to feel isolated with the fact that we couldn't really go out and do the things that we normally did. I'm an extrovert. I enjoy engaging with people. Part of the business sales process that I'm involved with is definitely going out and being in the community, speaking with people, talking with referral partners, building relationships. And so that whole process of really kind of having to work from home very sort of strictly up here in Canada, we were really a lot stricter than perhaps the US. And I started to feel very anxious and depressed. And I really started to be bothered by this sort of downward spiral that I was in, and these repetitive negative thoughts that just seemed to come on every day. The same old thoughts came in. And so I really decided that I was going to do something about it and began to explore the world of mindset training to see if there was something that I could do to improve the way I was feeling. And so that decision led me to Dana Wild's book, Train Your Brain, which funnily enough, I already had on my bookshelf. So there you go. And her material really talked about this formula that I'm now sort of, that I've tailored to my own ideas, but that really talked about how to go about basically recognizing the repetitive thoughts that are going on in your mind, understanding them, and then really choosing if you want to feel better. And that's really the key piece, I think, is that you have to make the choice. Do I really want to continue to match up these negative, repetitive thoughts, or do I want to try something different? And then, of course, if you decide to replace the negative thoughts with something more positive, then you feel better. And that's when, as you feel better and your vibration raises, that's when you start to get all of these great ideas, all of these new insights, all of these circumstances and people. And the fun thing about the whole mindset process is that it's all in your mind, literally. So, you can be doing all of this in your own mind without telling anybody else what you're doing, and still you can feel better. And when you feel better, the people around you are also uplifted.
A lot of us spend a lot of time not thinking about what we're thinking. and we just are just allowing it to be whatever it is. And in order to create a positive mindset, you have to be more conscious of what you're thinking, don't you?
Yes, that's 100% right. And the whole thing about being the conscious creator is that, you know, if you think about all of these negative thoughts that are kind of running by default in our minds, there's a couple of different pieces there. One is that, as little kids or even as babies, we have these open minds, right? It's like when you're a baby, they call you a sponge, right? And that's literally true. All you're doing is getting all of the information, all of the communication, all of the vibes from the people around you. And the people who are giving you that knowledge, your parents, your relatives, your teachers, all of these people in your life as you're growing up have absolutely no idea how to program a mind. And so that's why we get all of these thoughts by default. And so as we grow up and get older, we just continue to kind of run on default or regurgitate these thoughts. And they could be, generations old. You don't know, right? It could have been something that grandma told dad, and then dad just kept on repeating it. And so none of these thoughts are actually ours. And so that's a really exciting revelation once you kind of notice that you don't actually have to think any of the thoughts that are in your mind. You can choose every single thought that you think. And I found that to be super exciting. And the other part about the mind that I learned is that, there's the unconscious mind, there's the conscious mind. The unconscious mind is where kind of all of these old thoughts are and feelings are lying around and that keep kind of bubbling up. There's the conscious mind, which is the educated mind, the one that we actually make decisions with. And then within the unconscious mind, there's also something called the reticular activating system. And you probably know this already, Kevin, but I thought it was really cool that the reticular activating system is actually like it's like that little bubbler, it's the one that just continues to match up the thoughts and the things that you see. And it's like this thought loop that just keeps going on. And it's literally the same thoughts day in and day out. And then you start to notice, oh, I'm thinking the same things day in and day out. Oh, that must be why I'm seeing this, or it must be why I'm thinking that. And that's the problem, is that loop just goes by default unless we interrupt it and use this process of noticing, choosing something new, and then replacing the negative repetitive loop thought with a positive thought loop.
It always amazes me that when we talk about our moms and dads and how they raised us and stuff, we tend to forget, because when we get old enough, our moms and dads are older. But when we were young, when I was up till 5, my mother was 25 years old. What did she know when she was 20?
Exactly.
So she was basing what she knew how to teach and how to mold a young person was from her parents, who were 25 when they had her. And so it's an ongoing thing that we as an individual really should recognize that, yeah, I love my mom and dad. Were they perfect? Far from it. Were they able to give me the type of mental things that I needed in order to live a worry-free and fun and carefree and positive lifestyle? No, not a bit. So that's why we have to retrain ourselves. And that's why we need to talk to people like Vicky, who can help us understand why we're getting the stories that are in our heads, where they come from, and then positively how to actually change those stories into something that will benefit you. Would that be a great synopsis of what your work is?
100%. Yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. And I think it doesn't serve us one bit, in my opinion, to go back and rehash, what mom did or what dad did, or, what happened to us in the past. None of our pasts were perfect. None of and that just, it goes to exactly what you were saying, right? Everybody who has ever done anything is always doing the best they can with the best knowledge and the best awareness that they have. But the reality is that awareness is continuing to raise. And that is now our benefit, really. So we should just look forward and not worry about what happened in the past. Just, accept that things were not perfect. And now you get to choose. You get to be the conscious creator of what you focus on going forward. And that, I think, will help a lot of, help to understand that there's no forgiving yourself for, having thought these thoughts, or there's no worrying that the thoughts that you've thought already in your life are going to influence things in the future. Just forget all of that. Just drop it and move forward with the more positive thoughts from now on.
It can be an incredible scary thing, or also an incredibly empowering thing. If you say to yourself, I get to create my world and everything around it by the choices that I make, no other. And then to look at those choices is in a real positive way, and make the most positive choice you can. But a lot of times, Vicky, we're not capable. We don't sit down and go, well, reminds me of the Wizard of Oz. The scarecrow is like, I've got a brain, and let me see. How do I change my thoughts into a positive way so that I can change my life? And most people they don't look at it that way, and they don't even believe it's possible. So, but you're here to tell us it's possible.
Right. And so I always start with, with saying that the first step is to notice, right? First of all, you notice, and then you decide that you want to, feel better. So you make that choice, and then you decide to replace the negative thoughts with positive thoughts. Now, I always say that the positive thoughts must be very soothing and very gentle to begin with, so that you're not sort of causing an uproar in your mind, because that old program is going to kick up a fuss and say, oh no, you're not done with me yet. And so if you go in there too quickly and start making specific positive statements about things that are really contrary to what you've been thinking, then that's when you're going to, you're going to say, oh, this is too hard, and I don't like what I'm feeling, and I don't want to do this anymore. And then you'll just go back to default living. So I think the important thing to do is to just start really simple. And so, I started really simple with, I like fun. I like freedom. I like the beach. I like snorkeling, like really silly, but fun and positive, things that are fun and positive, but also super light, and that will not cause your mind to go, hey, what is she doing? I don't like this, right? You're just, when you think about those really easy things, like, I like fun, I like freedom. I mean, who can disagree with those things? Is there a person among us that wouldn't like more fun or wouldn't like more freedom, right? So I think those are the key pieces, is that you start really, really gentle, really soothing, and very general. And that way, as you start to get that feeling, okay, so what is the feeling of a positive thought? What are the feelings versus the thoughts that I've been having? So you can feel it, even just talking about it, right? You can feel how I like fun, I like freedom, how that makes you feel. It uplifts you. You can feel it physically in your body, you can feel it in your mind, right? It versus whatever negative thought you might be feeling feels heavy and dense and claustrophobic, right? Where you can't seem to shake off the negative feelings. And so that's the key piece, is that feeling sense is part of it. And that's part of the feeling better. And that's part of opening to your intuition. That's part of that positive vibration feeling that starts to emerge as you continue to plod along, choosing more and more, maybe more and more specific positive thoughts towards what you want to choose, whatever your particular negative thinking pattern might be, to start choosing more and more specific things. But if you start slow and general and soothing, then you can understand that the key piece always is, how do you feel when you're thinking that thought? Do you feel light and happy, or do you feel dense and heavy? And so those are the key pieces to understanding your vibration and how to raise that vibration. And by raising your vibration, that's when you start to feel better all around.
Your feelings are a good indication, aren't they, of how you're actually doing. If you're feeling down and depressed, it's because you are. I guess, I don't know, but if you're but if, but
Very
if
astute.
you like that, huh? I went to school for a long time to learn how to say that. And but on the other hand, if something energizes you, if you're feeling good about something that you're doing, um, that's real positive. And where does intuition come into this?
Well, I think, once you start to feel better, I always, say intuition are those great ideas, those great insights that just kind of seem to appear. The people, the circumstances that show up in your life, once you've started that, to feel better consistently. And that is where I think intuition comes in, is that it's guiding you now to take the next step towards, whatever the person or the circumstances or the insight or the idea. That's your guide. Okay, now step forward into that, step forward into this next thing. And every time you get those sort of intuitive downloads, that's when you get additional guidance on how to move forward and continue your conscious creation of how to, how to be the person that you really want to be in this life. Because at the end of the day, what we need to ask ourselves when we're feeling a little bit better is, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do? Am I happy doing what I'm doing currently? Do I want to do something else? Has something been calling me for a long time and I've really denied it, or I just didn't want to hear it, or I wasn't in a place where I could hear it? And I think that's what, when intuition comes in, that's what it guides us to see.
Now, it's interesting that you say that. First of all, and I've said this often, but it bears repeating again, and that is the two questions that I see mostly in everybody at one point or another, almost virtually everybody that I've interviewed over the course of 20 years, which is, I can't even tell you how many. It's in
It's a lot of
um,
people.
a lot of people, but every one of them has said at some point in their life, is this all there is? And why am I really here? And everybody comes up with those questions. And you mentioned something, and I want to dig deeper into this. And you mentioned something called a download. I would like you to explain to our audience, because some people are saying, download. I understand a computer download, but I don't. What the hell do you mean download? What is a psychic download, if you will?
Well, I feel like downloads can come in a variety of ways. The intuition is kind of, I would say, broken up into the senses. I guess that's probably the best way to look at it. So, those are the clairs, right? So clairsentience is feelings. So clairsentience is feelings. Clairvoyance is psychic sight or clear sight. Clairaudience is hearing. You actually don't really hear voices, but that's what they call it. And then there's claircognizance, which is just, you just know. And so when you open to your intuitive guidance, when you start to feel better and you start to get those great ideas, they're going to come in a way that is right for you, and that is kind of your guidance system. And so, if you have a claircognizant download, you just suddenly know something, and there's no way that you could know it. There's nobody that told you that. There's no teacher that ever gave you that knowledge. You just suddenly know something. You might know something is going to happen. You might know something about somebody. You might know how to complete a project. You might know something. You might have an idea about something that doesn't even, isn't even in your life yet. And you'll eventually find out what that download meant. And it's the same with the others. So you might get a picture in your mind of something, and that's a clairvoyant download. Or you might hear something in your body telling you or giving you guidance or direction about something, and that's clairaudience. So or you might feel something. You might just have like, you might get goosebumps, or you might feel sensations in your body. You might have tingling or prickling or heat or something that just doesn't, physically doesn't make sense. But all of those, I call them downloads, are guiding you forward in some way as part of your intuition.
I would like to suggest to our listener audience, what I want you to do is go take your clothes off and go get in the shower. And
Well, maybe not right now.
Yeah, maybe not right now. If you're driving, probably not. And and Vicky, you stay right where you are. And I'm going to stay right where I am. Thank God for you. And the reason I bring that up is that a lot of times, if you think back on it, everyone that's listening, if you think back on it, that you may have been wrestling with a problem for a while, and you're thinking about it for a while. You step into the shower where you're all alone, hopefully, and you're all alone, and then for whatever reason, and I think it has to do with the water and the energy connectivity, and it kind of makes it easier to transmit things. You'll come up oftentimes with a brand new thought or a brand new idea or a brand new resolution to what you've been struggling with, and that is what I would call a download. And I think everybody has had that experience, at least everybody I've talked to. How about you?
Yes, and that's why I say, insights and ideas come through that you wouldn't otherwise, have had access to. And I think that happens in the shower too, because our conscious mind is kind of occupied with the task at hand, right? You're busy showering,
Shampooing your hair.
and so that kind of leaves your mind open a little bit, or your conscious mind or unconscious mind, or I don't even know what you would call that part of it, of the mind that's open, when you're getting your intuition. But I think that's what's happening, is that you're occupied, you're not really thinking about it, and I think you're right too. The water and it's clearing away all your negative energy at the same time, right? So I think there's a lot to that.
Yeah, so do I, and once you begin, and I know this has happened to you for a long time, but once you begin feeling your intuition, it becomes easier. It's like a muscle. I've been told this many times. If you practice it, it's like a muscle, and you get better at doing it. But a lot of us don't have the faith in ourselves. We don't have the belief or the trust that the downloads that we're getting are actually real. We think they're an imagining of some kind. Do you find that in your work a lot?
Yes, and I would say, that you just have to learn to trust, right? You just have to trust, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take any action. You can just see what happens with that information, right? It's not something that you're gonna like leap up and necessarily do anything about right then and there. It might just be a piece of the puzzle, and the rest of the puzzle pieces might come along, or they might have already come in and you just haven't noticed that they all kind of fit together. But I think the idea is that you just have to trust. And I think the other thing too is that, the better you feel, and the more positive your mindset, the more often you're going to get these intuitive downloads. And I think that's the other piece, is that if you haven't figured out how to continue to have a positive mindset, then that's when, if you kind of cycle back and forth between having negative thoughts and positive thoughts, then you might notice that when you're having the positive thoughts, that's when you're going to be getting more of the information. But if you're in the negative place, you probably aren't going to be getting the information. I think that's probably also why, people don't feel like they can that they're getting the information. It's still coming in. You're just not noticing it, but it's because of your vibration being low, and your thoughts being negative, that you're not getting that sort of consistency. And that's when you start to doubt, right? And that's natural. And that's part of the negative mindset, is that doubt, the fear, the anxiety. And that's your mind, your unconscious mind trying to protect you, right? Ooh, that wasn't real. Don't think about that, crazy lady. So they the unconscious mind is always trying to protect you from what it perceives as, a threat. And that's why the negative mind is always kind of spiraling, and that's fear and anxiety and doubt, because it knows that in the past it's done it's done stuff like that, and you've responded that way, and then you've been safe from something that would have otherwise possibly been of harm to you. But that's when you have to decide, consciously, okay, I'm not in a place where I need to worry about that right now. So now I'm going to choose my thoughts, and my thoughts are going to be positive. And that's when you'll start to be able to recognize when the downloads come in.
There seems to be a segment of our population that, and some call it being asleep, some calling it not being aware, but they don't, it doesn't cross their mind to think about their mind and what their mind is telling them. They assume that what they're being told is in some manner or form the truth, and so they never even bring it up to themselves. And that's how people can end up in a downward spiral, isn't it?
Well, I would say that's probably the majority of the population, actually, Kevin, really.
I didn't want to say that.
I think it is. I think it's the majority of the population. They live by default, simply because it's never occurred to them to question whether or not the way things are the way they should be. It's just that's how it's always been. This is how mom did it. This is how dad did it. This is how our family's always done it. And so you just assume that that's the way it's supposed to be. But I think, the more of us can become those conscious creators of our thoughts, the more uplifting we can be in general, then we perhaps shine a light on the ability to make other decisions for your life and to choose to be that conscious creator, as opposed to continuing to live by default. So that's kind of my thought in the process, is that if I can help uplift one other person so that they can, be a conscious creator of their life going forward and choose the life of their dreams, as opposed to, a life by default, then it was worth it.
It's interesting that you say that, because I have some relatives, some rather close relatives that are like, I started Positive Talk Radio a while ago, and my son is, you've changed. You seem like you're a much more positive person, because he grew up with me. This is my son, and he grew up with me, so he remembers road rage or yelling at another driver or whatever it was. And he said, you weren't always the positive dude that you are today. What changed? And I said it was a mindset, just like you're talking about. I decided at one point in time, like about 20 years ago, that what I was doing wasn't working. And it wasn't that it was right or bad or good or indifferent. It just wasn't working for me anymore. And so I wanted to find something that was working for me. And so going down this road works for me. And and talking to people like you, that's why I do this show. So I get to talk to people like you. It really is remarkable. By the way, we're talking with Vicky McGrath. And if you'd like to go to her website to find out more about her, VickyMcGrath.ca, because she's like a Canada.
Yes, we Canadians, eh? But I think that whole process of people noticing that you're different, it can be scary for people too, right? Because I think the other thing is that I kind of call this whole negative thought loop the program, right? It's like the program that we grew up with. It's the program that was implanted into us. It's like your phone, right? Except the people who program a phone are brilliant and know what they're doing, as opposed to us who have our minds programmed by people who have no idea what they're doing. But that program is our whole lives, right? So we are living this life. We have people in our lives, husbands, wives, families, and they notice that something is different about you. And that might be really scary for them. And they might act badly about it, right? And they might, you know, they might say things that are hurtful to you. They might say things that make you doubt yourself. They might make you feel, anxious or nervous or fearful that what you're doing is not okay, or it's not going to work, or it's going to alienate you from them. And that's actually all the same program running on that fear, doubt, and worry. And so I would like to encourage your listeners to be on the lookout for that and to recognize when that's happening. So if your, partner or family member says to you, something that's out of context for them, or perhaps that is something that would put you down when in other circumstances they would be highly supportive. That's the program. So just be aware of it, and then just make a conscious note in your mind. Oh, there's the program. There it is. And then you just say, aha, this is awesome. I noticed it, and keep going. And then keep, more and more repetition of the positive thoughts, because you're actually starting to push out and replace those negative thoughts. And that is the key, right? And that's why this program bubbles up every once in a while, because it's nervous, it's frightened, it doesn't want you to leave it, right? It's been there your whole life. So I really want to point that out. You made me think of that, Kevin, as you were talking about your son, that, people will notice, and some people may not come along with you on your journey.
It seems to me that the program that you're talking about is like the standard operating program that almost everybody uses.
Yep. You got it.
It's like Windows versus what was it, Linux,
Mac.
or Mac, yeah. But everybody uses that same program, and it's comfortable. It appears to be comfortable for people because that's what they use, and they don't question it until they reach a point in their life when they cannot disregard it or ignore it anymore. And that's when your kind of work can really help somebody, when they go, all right, this ain't working. I have had enough. Tell me what I need to do, and call you, and you can help them.
Yeah. And that's 100% right. And I have examples of, things that have happened in my life since I began this journey. And it's just remarkable. If you don't mind, I'll just give you an example. So in 1999, I went to Hawaii with my fiance to get married. And we actually went there specifically so that I could watch the Ironman World Championships triathlon, which is in Kona in October. So I orchestrated the wedding, of course, to marry my husband, but primarily actually just to watch the Ironman. And so I was there with Jeff, who is my husband now, and we watched the Ironman for 14 hours. We watched it from 6 a.m. swim start. It's a swim, bike, and run for those that aren't familiar with triathlon, and it's an all-day affair. And so we were there for 14 hours from the swim start to the run finish. And at that time, I said, I am going to do this race, even if I have to outlive the competition. I'm going to do this race. And at the time, I'd actually only been running for about 5 years. I'd never done a triathlon in my life. Before the 5 years, I was smoking, I was overweight. And so the running was actually kind of to manage that side of things. So, for me to make that decision back then was kind of crazy. And so, over the course of time, I actually took up triathlon. I entered all the contests that I could. I entered all of the lotteries that I could to get in. It's a competition that you have to get in by a process. It's not just something that you can enter arbitrarily. And so for many years, I tried, to get in different ways. And wouldn't you know it, in 2021, I got a spot. in the Ironman. And so I'm going to be doing that in October 2022. But
Congratulations.
the
That's
the
huge.
it is huge, thank you. But the process that I talk about there is that I made a decision. I chose, at that time that I said I'm going to do this race, that was a decision. And I followed up with action and, ideas and things that came to me over time. And then that, but that only came 23 years later, as I've now opened up to more of that positive mindset and have that positive vibe. And that's not the only thing that's happened for me. So I would just really encourage people to take up the conscious creation gauntlet and see what amazing things develop and come into your life that maybe you've been afraid to dream, or that if the dream came true now, it would truly be a miracle, and you could really attribute it to your new mindset, your new positive way of being. So that's the reason why I tell you that story, is just so that you can see how after so many years things can start to happen for you that you would never have known could happen before.
Well, but I will say, first of all, again, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's really like the biggest dream come true.
But it's a dream come true, but it hasn't been without an incredible amount of hard work.
Well, that's true. It's taken 22 years of effort.
Now I have to ask you, because for those of you who don't know what a triathlon is, it's like 2.5-mile swim, followed by a 20-mile bike ride, and then a 5-mile or 10-mile run. Am I
Well,
close?
so this one is like the big kahuna. So it's actually a 3.8. Well, I'm gonna have to speak in kilometers and stuff because I'm Canadian, but it's a 3.8 kilometer swim, 180-kilometer bike, followed by a 42-kilometer run. So
You
it's
have got to be. How long does that take? 3 or 4
well,
weeks?
it's going to take me, I would say, a minimum of 13 and a half hours. And I have done other triathlons in the past, and that's probably really being optimistic.
See, when I was a kid, I remember I'd go for a swim in the lake and stuff, and then I'd ride my bike, and I'd also always get chafed. So you got to be very careful about
Let's
taking
not
care of
talk
your
about that.
taking care of your body and all that kind of. And then my wife did a 180-mile bike ride. It's called the STP, and she didn't sit down for 3 days after
Yeah.
she finished. So it is a really grueling thing that you're doing, and you have to be in incredible shape, I would imagine.
Yes, let's hope that comes to be, because otherwise I'll be like your wife, and I'll be I'll be in tough shape afterwards.
I'm sure that you're going to do just fabulously. But that just goes to show you that the power of the mind is an incredible thing.
It
And
is.
if you make a decision, and not a waffling decision, or, one of the things, if I could share a little bit of my own story, one of the things that I have always regretted is that I never went in and did most of the things in my life. I work a little bit differently, but in personal things, I never really committed to it. I was an all-star baseball player when I was a kid,
Hmm.
but I never committed to going that next level to get to be an incredible baseball player. And I was also an all-star football player, and I didn't go to that next level to make sure I was in my best shape. I learned my lesson, however, when I was a boxer, and I wasn't in the best shape, and I got my face beat in, and that was the end of that. So I never really, I did those things, but I did not do them with a sense of positive purpose. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be the absolute best I can be. Because doing what you're doing, you have to do that, don't you?
Well, I think what you're talking about, though, Kevin, is the program, right? It's the
Yes.
program. The program was trying to protect you, right? It was trying to protect you from disappointment. It was trying to protect you from ridicule, from other people judging you, right? So it was easier to just not do it than it was to do it, right? And so I think that's where we have to look at that, right? So in some respects, we can't beat ourselves up for that program, right? We can recognize it, we can acknowledge it, we can say, okay, well, now I can make different decisions, right? So I think that's the point of that is, don't we all could have made decisions about things differently, right? If you think about it, right, the way your life has gone, the whole trajectory of your life could have been different if you had done things differently. But at the time, you were running on the program that was you were on default. And so I think that's why now we know that we can choose the way we want to do things, or choose the way we want to think about things. Then we can actually decide, okay, so is what I want to do actually going to be fun? Because that's key, right? Like, most people don't think that doing that Ironman is fun, right? Let's face it. People don't think that kind of endurance activity is fun for the most part. There's a very small percentage of people like me who think that that's fun, but I do. I think it's fun. I love running. I love training. I love biking. I love swimming. I love it all. So it's fun for me. So then I think you have to also look at, does it bring you a positive mindset to do what you want to do? And if it does, then choose it. But if it doesn't make you feel better, if you can look ahead and see the outcome and look at all of the different outcomes that might come to fruition, right? And if they're positive and they make you feel good, then that's the right decision.
It's really interesting because in my world, a 3.5 mile an hour or 3.5 mile swim. I'll convert it back to miles because kilometers, I have no idea. Say a 3-mile swim, a 150-mile bike race, and a 25-mile run. First of all, it wouldn't matter because I couldn't go on the bike race because I'd be dead in the water somewhere down below, because I drowned in the swimming part. But for you, that's exciting. I had another guest on not too long ago who is a mountain climber, and she's the second woman to climb K2. Now, in my reference, it's like, it's snowy, it's hard, it's cold. Why would you do that? And in her reference, it's like, it's heaven. It's absolutely the most exciting thing I could possibly do. And that is your mindset. And
Right.
if you're passionate about something,
Yeah.
then follow your mindset and create a positive outlook on it, and good things will happen. Haven't you found that that's just kind of just the natural flow of things?
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest with you, climbing mountains is not for me either, Kevin. So don't feel bad about that. I prefer the beach.
Exactly. You prefer to run on the beach and stuff like
Right, swim in the ocean, and play with the sea creatures.
I prefer to sit on the beach. Thank you very much, and go
Yeah.
float on the water, and with my little snorkel mask on, and hope I don't get harpooned by anybody.
Yes.
But I get it. But why is it that a lot of people don't get it?
I think, it's because it's that default program, right? It's because they haven't allowed themselves to dream. And that's because of that, what you experienced, right? That you if you don't allow yourself to dream, it's much safer, right? If you do allow yourself to dream, people might judge you, people might ridicule you, something might happen, you might fail. Like, is there anything worse that you could think about than failing, right? Who wants to fail? But the reality is that we fail all day long, and most of us just don't even notice that that's what's happening, right? And so if you don't dare to dream about what would make you happy, then you never know how to move forward into what would make you happy. And I think the key piece there is that this is why I also love mindset training is because, again, you don't have to tell a soul about the decision you've made. You don't have to tell another person that you've decided to become a millionaire in the next year, or you've decided to buy the house of your dreams, or whatever. You've gone to, you're going to go climb K2, whatever the case may be. You don't have to tell anybody. You just have to think about it in your own mind and decide in your own mind, and then start taking action on the things that feel good. And that's I think the part that most people don't realize is that, if they declare a dream in their mind, they think that they're going to have to go tell their family, or they're going to have to go tell their partner, or whatever the case may be, and their partner's going to shoot them down and say, well, that's ridiculous, why would you do that? So don't, just keep it to yourself until you get to a point where you're in action and you have to declare what you're up to.
When you said about dreaming, the first thought that came to my mind was somebody who said, boy, get your head out of the clouds. You can't just dream your way to success. You're going to have to work really hard, and it's going to be terrible, and it's going to be awful. And if you don't do it, you know what I mean? And it becomes a real negative thing. But when you're in the flow, I have a associate, and today we were working together, and it was like we were in the flow. It was just, everything was easy, and it was it was moving forward, and it was positive, and it was just because we were in the flow. But when we start talking about, it's going to be awful, it's going to be icky, you're not going to like it, you're going to have to work really hard at it, and it's, we get that voice in our head that says, oh, come on, who the hell do you think you are? I've been told that by people. Who the hell do you think you are to be
Oh,
able
who
to?
hasn't? 100%. I have been told my whole life, you're too loud, you speak up too much, nobody wants to hear from you, right? Oh, I get it. I still get it. I get it all the time.
Oh, you probably get it more now than you did before because of the work you do.
But I mean, that's part of the program, right? That is part of the program. And so if we can say to ourselves, oh, success is fun, success is easy, I want to do what's fun, I want to do what's adventurous, I want to do what's freeing. If you just start telling yourself the things that you want and that make you happy, then new ideas, new thoughts, new insights will come to you that will guide you that way. But if you just live in fear, and most of us do, but who wants to live in fear your whole life, right? Like, if you can make a decision not to do that anymore, then just decide right now, I'm not living in fear anymore. I'm going to choose the way I want to live. And again, you only have to say that to yourself in your own mind. You don't have to tell anybody else.
But if you're having trouble understanding or recognizing that, I highly suggest that you give Vicky McGrath a call, or go to her website, which is vickymcgrath.ca, and talk to her about, you want to start this journey and you want to change who you are. Keep in mind that when you change who you are, good things will happen. And Vicky's right. Other people may be vibrating at a less frequency and not be as excited about your changes and what you're doing, but that's just okay. That's part of life. So contact Vicky, and she can help you. So that would be great. And congratulations again. How now? I got to ask you, as an aside, how often are you training? Are you running every day? You must be. You must be running and biking and swimming every day.
Yeah, it's 6 days, 6 days a week right now. I really do kind of force myself to take a day off, because I don't know whether you've ever done yoga or whatever, but there's like an integration, right? So you have to integrate the activity, and also give yourself a break, right? Like your mind and body can really, for me, they can really force me to do things way overboard. So it's better to take a day off and just say, I'm training 6 days a week, and then I have to figure it out from there. What goes on every other day.
Well, the thing is that when you are doing that, and you're training every day, it is It is exciting, but you need to take a day off just to get your mind right about what you're doing. Hello, when will we have a job? Should I wait until my mental health recovers? Oh, this is actually a good one. This is from Emily. Hello, when will I have a job? Should I wait until my mental health recovers, or should I do treatment while working? My I would tell you, Emily, first of all, that never we all need a coach. We all need somebody to help us because we can't do it ourselves. So I don't think those two things are related at all. I think you should continue working on yourself always, and if you can get some help with that, that's even better. What do you think, Vicky?
Well, I think Emily would benefit from recognizing, what her current mindset is, right? If her mindset is on those repeat negative thoughts, then she needs to look at how to interrupt them and replace the negative with the positive thoughts. And then, as she progresses along the journey of choosing the thoughts and feeling better, then I bet you that job, the ideas, the people, the circumstances that lead to the job that you're seeking will come to you. But it's key that you work on your mindset. That is that repeat program going that's bringing you down.
Emily, I hope that helps a little bit. And if you want more information about Vicky, go to Vicky McGrath CA. And so, but thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate that. And Holly Berry has a question about have Vicky, have you read the book The Four Agreements?
I have not read the Four Agreements.
Oh, then she can't be curious about what your thoughts are on it because she and Emily responds by saying, "Thank you so much. It helped a lot."
I'm glad.
And Emily, Positive Talk Radio is designed. I bring people like Vicky who can help you. I've got lots and lots of episodes of your self worth and positive talk and helping each other and helping yourself live life a little bit better. And so I encourage you to go listen to some of the other shows. Listen to this show again, which will be up on positivetalk.net tomorrow, maybe later today. We'll see. And it it's important that you continue. You recognize that there's a problem. Just continue to work with it, and to find some people in your world that surround you that can love you and help you and support you in your new way of being. And Vicky, isn't that kind of right that it's when you make a commitment to yourself to be positive, you're making a commitment that is a new way of being, isn't it?
It is. You're choosing to be a conscious creator, and that is, I think, the key first step for most of us who have perhaps never realized that we haven't had a conscious thought our whole lives, that our thoughts have been other people's thoughts. And so, if you make that conscious decision, you literally will become a new person altogether.
When you wake up one morning and you say, "I've been living other people's thoughts," that's kind of gross, isn't it?
I think it's gross.
It certainly is. Like, I have been living other people's thoughts my entire life. Maybe I should live my own thoughts from now on
Right?
and
100%.
create those thoughts.
Yeah, and feel better, right? And that's when good ideas come to you. You have to feel better first. That's the journey, is always choosing to feel better.
And you're on the right path when you start feeling better and you're more enthusiastic about life, about your situation, about what's going on with you, because it's really important. It's really important. So Vicky, we're coming to the end of our time together. First of all, I would like to invite you back. I have a program that we're starting where I'm rotating about 100 really cool coaches and teachers and light workers and people that can do some amazing things to appear on the show on a regular basis. Maybe
I
once
would
a
love
quarter,
that.
something like
Thank
that.
you.
We would love to invite you to do that. So that we can follow the Iron Man to see if we'll book you 2 days after it to give you a couple of days to recover. But I want to give you a moment to tell our audience or talk to our audience about anything that you would like them to know before we have to go away.
Sure. Thank you. Well, I would just say, if anyone would like to connect with me and learn more about, how they can develop a positive or success mindset and the formula that I use, if they think that would benefit them, either personally or in their workplace or in their career or whatever the case may be, or if they think that there are people in their workplace or that their team or their organization that they could help uplift by changing their own mindset, they can connect with me for sure at www.vickymcgrath.ca, and I'd love to hear from anybody that might like to work with me and how I can help them to become the people that they would like to be and live the life of their dreams.
And I just like to point out, because Vicky does, and we didn't talk about it on this episode, we did the last time, and we will next time, she also works with businesses. And if you are a CEO or an owner of a business, I implore you to contact Vicky, because let me explain. Things are different than they used to be. Used to be you go to work for 30 years, you can tell an employee to do anything you want to, and if they didn't like it, well, they could go pound sand. The rules have changed. People don't respond that way anymore, and so you need to operate your company from a positive mindset, enlisting everybody and their minds to all work together and to, as I like to say, get into the boat and paddle like hell, all together in the same direction. And if you do that, you might think that you're being too kind, or you're not going to be viewed as being strong or whatever. But what will happen is your employees will become more loyal. Their sick time will go down. Their productivity will go up. The ideas that they bring forth will be many, and they will be a lot better than what you can think of by yourself. So contact Vicky, and she can help change the culture of your company, which not only makes it more, geez, I was going to say more better. It not only makes it better for everyone that works there, but it also will raise your profits, and you will profit handsomely from it. Do you agree with that, by the way?
I 100% do agree with that. And the other thing is, just what you were saying there is that, as if your employees are coming to work with a positive mindset, then they are getting great ideas. They're getting insights and circumstances, and people are coming into their lives that can only benefit the job. And so I think that's a really great point.
Yes, indeed. One of my missions in life is I want to change the culture of American business from the CEOs on down, and to do it in a manner that is positive and befitting everybody, that everybody's equal and we all can do great things together. But we've got to be together. We're all one. That's the way it works. So Vicky McGrath, go to vickymcgrath.ca. Find out all the information about her. I want to thank you. This has been a great show.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope that I added some value to your listeners.
Always, 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 always. And I want to thank you, and stay right where you are, and I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another.